with you. Flip a doujin in the bed, I'm reading manga till it's two. Tell me that you love us if I go, I'm knowing that it's true. Cause you acting all moe and vanilla in my view. So this is for them waifus. Straight 2D flex in my life, fool. If you fuck with him, tell you my dude. Let the beat right out, keep it nice and smooth, yo.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Weeaboos, the anime podcast where we get drunk and talk about anime. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hunter.
What are we drinking tonight, Hunter? Prepared as always.
This is shut the fuck up. This is Ballast Point Brewing Company Grapefruit Sculpin.
Yeah.
San Diego, California. I have not actually drinking it yet, so I can't give a...
Take a drink.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's really good. I love Ballast Point.
Mm-hmm. Ballast Point's always pretty great. Like the back of it's like award-winning IPA, something.
Award-winning IPA with a citrus twist.
What?
It does like about to crack open a cold one with the boys.
we started that meme. We originated cracking open a cold one with the boys.
You started that?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What'd you say the other, alarm?
A cold brew? What?
Yeah, that's a cold brew.
That's a cold brew. I was close to making a meme. So, anime is saturated with series revolving around the idea of a mysterious girl literally falling from the sky or magically appearing out of nowhere and having no option but to live with the male protagonist. This concept was huge primarily in the late 80s to mid-90s, but is still the foundation of so many modern anime. Mahoromatic, Chobits to Love-Ru, Monster Musume, Sugemomo, Sora no Itoshimono, Handmaid May, Video Girl Ai, and even in Bleach, Rukia lived in Ichigo's closet for the entire first arc. This idea of living under the same roof with the opposite sex is erotic. Knowing that a romantic experience is tantalizingly close can make your heart race more than the romantic encounter itself. When characters are living together, every moment is a potential sexual situation. This is why the childhood friend is such a common romantic interest in harems. The childhood friend is typically written in a way that allows her to easily access the main character's house. Maybe she's his next door neighbor, maybe the protagonist's mom asked her to make lunch for him. However, the childhood friend archetype is known for losing in harems due to a flaw that is commonly overlooked. The protagonists will often fail to see the childhood friend in a romantic light due to the fact that he views her as if she were his sister. But what about actual sisters?
Oh, God.
So, little sisters, to be specific. The Imouto needs no excuse to be living in the same house as our protagonist, and introduces a new factor that the childhood friend lacked: taboo. Now, I've heard plenty of other reasons justifying the morality of Imoutos. They're used for the lolly appeal, and most commonly, a side effect of Japan's low birth rate is that the vast majority of Japanese households have one child, meaning they don't know what it's like to actually have a sister. In the words of Araragi from Monogatari, no one with little sisters can be a siscon. However, Araragi's actions say otherwise, as we've seen with the toothbrush scene. This exact same contradiction of actions and dialogue is essentially the premise of Eromanga Sensei and Oremo. There is no shortage of anime where the Imouto is at least included within a harem, and in fact, the Imouto trend is only increasing in popularity. We have Kiss X Sis, Grecia, recently My Sister is Unusual, SAO if you want to include cousins, and soon we're getting another long-titled visual novel adaptation with another little sister love interest that I can't remember the name of. So...
Wait, SAO?
Sword Art Online. There's the cousin thing. I said
Who's the cousin?
Season 2.
Oh, season 2? Yeah, are you talking about Gun Gale Online, that one?
Probably. I thought she was in the first one. Purple short hair. She wears like a tracksuit. Jacket.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Okay.
All I know is the edgelord dude with the black everything with the two swords and Asuna.
Kirito, Asuna.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Are
there other characters in the show?
Uh-huh.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy sometimes. But yeah, what is your opinion on the morality of Imoutos?
So, as somebody with two sisters, it's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah?
But...
Are they older or younger?
Both are older than me.
Okay.
But...
Because I have an older sister as well.
Okay. But the thing to me is that, I mean, not only is like incest wrong from like a morality standpoint, but it's also like it's pretty biologically wrong
Yeah,
as well,
totally.
because like it's actually harmful to any
Yes,
children that
exactly.
are born that way. So it's like taboo in two different ways in that sense. So as somebody that actually has two sisters, it's just like absolutely bizarre to me that this has become a thing.
Like as common as it is. Yeah, I'm the youngest sibling in my family, so I may not be as averse to them compared to people who have little sisters, but regardless, they aren't really my jam either. Like the SAO cousin, for example, the romance felt really awkward to me. Like I mentioned before, the reason for their popularity is due to how easy it is to slip taboo elements like so smoothly into any plot. And that's actually the first part of my two-part problem. Because the popularity of Imoutos is rising to such an extent, it's more commonplace, ultimately making little sisters less taboo.
Less taboo? It's trying to make them less
Because,
taboo?
well, no, it's not trying to, but because it's become a trend.
I mean, there's also been a trend with lolly characters, and I don't think if you looked at like, you know, whatever statistic you'd have to look at, you've seen like an increase in older men like getting with 12-year-old girls or anything.
Sure.
So even if it's becoming like more commonplace, maybe it's not seen as a taboo within the anime scape, but I don't think it'll ever not be seen as a taboo in like the real world.
Oh, of course. But we're viewing this purely from a fictional
Oh yeah,
viewpoint.
the more there is, the less weird it becomes, for sure.
Exactly. Okay. So I love the use of taboo concepts in storytelling. Setting rules and breaking rules established between characters or society makes for an incredibly captivating experience that sets you on edge. In a previous episode, I briefly talked about how I loved the use of restriction in stories like Mysterious Girlfriend X and Nazoki Anna. Playful storytelling that teases the viewer and intentionally doesn't give us what we want is a tactic. Okay. So, like I said, if we didn't mention this before, we also had like 2 shots before this.
Yes,
So
we did.
We had a shot of just a shot of whiskey.
And then a shot of vodka. That's
Yeah.
pretty much, that's all it was.
Yeah. So, playful storytelling that teases the viewer and intentionally does not give us what we want is a tactic that's becoming less utilized in anime, as we've seen with Attack on Titan, for example. If a creator restricts their own storytelling and imposes rules on themselves as well as their characters, they're ultimately forcing themselves to be more creative. Creativity is built on restriction. That's the appeal of things that are taboo. So, do you have any thoughts on taboo in storytelling, taboo in like personal experiences that you can relate to?
Well, as far as like taboo in relation to this, like I see appeal in things that are taboo by nature, just because it's like, hey, I can never do this in the real world, so I can live through some sort of fantasy without hurting anybody or, you know, making anybody think less of me by experiencing it like somewhat vicariously through anime. And I get that. And there's a lot of taboos that are a little bit, I don't know, taboos are really out there, but this one's like especially out there for me. Like I can't even imagine I would like to talk to somebody that actually does have a sister that's like 3 or 4 years younger than them and see what their thoughts on this topic would be, because it's weird for me to think about, even though my sisters are, one's 3 years older than me, the other's like 10 or 12 years older than me. So, and it's weird for me to think about, because whenever I see something on the screen, like if I did watch Ori-Imo, I didn't like it, but I did watch it, I finished it. Every time I would see his interaction with his sister, part of like my part of my thought goes to like, what if I talked to what if any of this crap happened with my actual sister? And it was just like, it was such like a turn off while watching the show.
Totally.
That it's interesting to think that for some people that's the reason they watch it.
That's the reason most people watch it.
Well, yeah, it's like a lot of people. I'm gonna go off to actual American comedies. You know, The Office. A lot of the jokes in that are that Michael Scott's horribly inept and he does a lot of really awkward stuff. and I cannot bear to watch secondhand awkwardness. Like, I hate watching somebody else make a fool of themselves.
Right, it's like
in
cringe
that way.
comedy.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people really latch onto that. So I can see why people latch onto the taboo aspect.
Well, that cringiness is actually kind of what leads us into. I said this was the first part of a two-part problem I had with the concept of emotos, and this kind of leads us into that second part. The second problem I have with this emoto situation is not so much with the little sisters themselves; they didn't do anything wrong, but with the reason behind why I think most people, or at least most Westerners, watch these sort of shows, which is the tension or suspense of the inevitably terrible. The title alone of My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute makes us ask the question, does he get with his sister? When does he get with his sister? And we're actively criticizing it because we know this outrageous thing is going to happen that will ultimately cause it to fall apart in this horrible mess. And yet, when it actually happens, we all freak out and lose our minds. Like, it's the equivalent of clicking on a YouTube video titled, like, Worst Skateboard Trick Fail. We read the title and wait.
Just watch and wait for the guy to rack himself.
Exactly. We wait for nothing more to watch some guy get hit in the balls. Suspense of the inevitably terrible is cheap drama. It's the reason we slow down in traffic to look over at a car crash, because there's a part of us that's drawn to catching a glimpse at something potentially grotesque.
Oh, dude, whenever I see a car crash happen, like, in front of me, it's happened, like, twice, but it's always incredible to see. Like, it sounds so bad. Like, both of the car crashes I've seen, nobody was hurt, but it's like, oh shit, that dude got fucked up. And then you see, like, the cops come by and you're like, oh my god, like, something interesting is really happening right now.
So what are your thoughts on people getting into a series with the intention to criticize people who watch something because they think it's bad, you know?
Wait, rephrase that. What?
Alcohol. What are your thoughts on people getting into a series with the intention to criticize?
Oh, I totally get that. That makes so much more sense. That's the same reason I watch like B level sci-fi movies, because it's like you just want to see it because it's really bad. That's the reason that Sharknado is like a household name as far as crappy sci-fi movies.
Totally.
So watching something to see it fail and to see how it fails and why it fails, that totally makes sense to me. I could get behind watching a show like this if that was the reason I was watching it.
Right. I mean, it's strange, though, the difference between Western outlook on these sort of shows and Japanese, because Japanese, from what I understand, tend to like thoroughly enjoy it just purely based on sales. Like, this thing is selling. What are we even talking about? The newest sister show.
Eromanga Sensei.
Eromanga Sensei. It's selling like crazy in Japan right now. But it seems to me like everyone in the U.S. is just getting all riled up in like the perverted nature of it.
Well, I also think that it's just less like, I think that there's a little bit of desensitization kind of in Japan to that aspect. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that it's seen as more of a taboo thing here than it would be there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's true, but it just, like, from the cultural differences I've seen, that seems like something that could be like pretty true.
Right. Well, I've said I love the occasional bad anime, but when I say that, I mean it truly sincerely, and there's no malice or cynicism whatsoever behind those words. The worst anime I'm intentionally watching this season is probably Frame Arms Girl, but there's a part of me that legitimately enjoys it because the quality that makes that series bad is how much it panders to the anime fans. It's a product placement anime about tiny robot girls in their underwear that fight each other and hang out afterward. Like,
This sounds pretty good.
exactly. It's just like, it sounds so terrible it has to be good. It knows what it is. But
Same reason that Shark, but also, where does the NATO come from? Oh, was it in a tornado?
yes.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
shark
awesome.
tornado.
That's fucking sweet. Someone in the chat said this, like, you can't help but watch a train wreck. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's literally what this episode is about, watching a train wreck. So
well, yeah, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between watching some dude that it has a lot of sexual tension with his sister versus watching a train wreck in the sense of like somebody just like not performing whatever action they're performing it horribly wrong. Like the latter I'm totally fine with. I like watching somebody just like be horribly inept and like fail, especially if that character is like somebody I've hated throughout the series. But watching some guy just with sexual tension and his little sister is just odd to me. And it's what's more odd is that I finished Ori Emo because you know me, I'll drop shit. I will drop it.
You will.
But for some reason, I needed to know what happened.
Well, I think we know what
and
that
that's
reason
exactly,
is.
You needed to see the train wreck, dude.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. Full circle.
Crazy. Full circle. Well, let's move on to questions. Ready for questions? What are you looking at me like?
Yes. Yes, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, fine. So this week's question comes from Darvinger. And like, funny enough, this was like one of our first questions we got, and I kept putting it off because I thought we might eventually make an episode out of it.
And we're not.
I don't think we're going to. But Darvinger asks, what premise for an anime would you want to see made, or even amalgamations of existing ones? So, in short, what's our own anime idea? If we had to come up with...
Our anime, the one that I made up. So, first I'll cheat and then I'll make a real answer. So the cheat is one that I saw. There's an anime that did this for one episode, but I think it would just be a really funny premise or like something to watch while you're drinking or with friends. But it would be like a normal high school drama or like, you know, some romance, some tension here, some whatever, you know, just like high school slice of life. But so it's an all-girl school, but all of the girls have really deep manly voices. And that's it. Like everything else is the exact same.
What the fuck?
the extraordinarily entertaining. And I say this knowing that there is an anime where one episode was that joke. Okay. That was the entire joke. But I want to see, like an episode, that's not enough. I want a series made off of that joke.
Well, that's kind of funny.
Aren't you a fan of juxtaposition?
I am. I mean, yeah, that's why I thought that was so funny. But I actually had kind of a similar, like, weird out of nowhere idea. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but
now you have to.
Now I have to.
What could be worse than that?
Like, I think it would be really funny. You know, like in Looney Tunes, where like if someone gets in a cold shower, they'll like turn into like an ice cube, or like if it's too hot, like
or if they run off a cliff, they'll like look down real quick.
Right, like if they see someone they love, like their eyes will pop out of their head. I thought it would be funny if like there was a series based on these hyperbolic scenes, but they were like permanent and had like long lasting effects. Like people would die if they would like if they would get in like a shower that would like burn off like off their skin in this like over the top exaggerated
like
way.
There was this old cartoon series that was like literally that. It was like it was like cartoon. It was like Happy Tree Friends. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
It was this like Newgrounds thing back when that was a thing. And it was just like cartoons. But then, like, they'd be hanging out in a treehouse, and the treehouse would, like, light on fire, and then all of them, like, die in horribly gruesome ways. Like, that was...
that was the premise.
Yeah.
But I think we both have more intricate answers. Is that right?
Yeah. So, as far as something that I would create, it would definitely be something that is, musically driven in some way. It would just be, like... I know that the theme song would play, and it'd be this super badass theme song, right? And it's always playing... for the intro, and then the final fight scene has the intro theme song as the fight music, right?
Man.
Like, you know, first person to think of that before. On top of that, it would probably start, you know, on Earth, and at the end they'd be fighting in space, and everything would be really big and have like
so
basically
you want to mix
Dragon
Lagann.
Ball Z, Gurren Lagann, and like maybe Full Metal Alchemist. And just mash them all together and make it really epic. And if there was something bigger than space, they'd be in that.
Cool.
Basically, it'd be a giant Michael Bay film,
Double
but
space.
anime
Cool.
with music.
Awesome.
And all the girls would be super hot.
Wow. What a treat. I can't wait to see it.
You would watch it. Don't even fucking lie.
I would. All right. So for me, I don't think there's one specific story I want to tell. Rather, my mind is full of themes and concepts I'd like to apply to a plot. the plot, like how a story literally moves from point A to point B, is less interesting to me compared to how a show is articulated or the message it conveys. That's why I can enjoy sports and romance anime. Figuratively speaking, I'd like to make something similar to Evangelion, where on the surface it's one thing, but in actuality it's a metaphor for something else entirely. So one theme that has always interested me is that invisible line between childhood and adulthood, and
Holy drink.
and if it even exists. Oh, okay.
That's quite a butt.
That
She has a gun too.
That's Sword Art. Season
Oh.
2, Gun Gale, whatever.
Is that the cousin? Because I
No.
can see where the issue would
No.
rise.
No, it is not. But so, like I said, I like the idea of the blurred line between childhood and adulthood. I'd really like to explore a way to present the idea of how either everyone is a child pretending to be an adult, or that those terms child and adult are completely irrelevant and have no meaning whatsoever. Another theme is silence and the power of words. I've always liked the idea of a protagonist who simply doesn't have much to say and remains almost
hate that.
entirely speechless. What? No.
No, the silent, strong type protagonist.
No, not silent strong, just doesn't speak.
No, I like that's. I really don't like it when the protagonist has nothing to say. It makes you feel like you're playing in a video, like a JRPG, but like they didn't have enough money to voice the main character or something.
Nah. People say write what you know, and contrary to having a podcast, I am actually a very quiet person. I feel most comfortable when I'm not talking, and to be honest, part of my motivation behind starting this podcast was to get better at vocalizing my thoughts. So I kind of disagree. I mean, I can get what you're saying as to, it's almost a cheap tactic to have a silent protagonist. But I feel like if it was done well, and that's the part that I'm struggling to, vocalize, is I don't know how it would be done well. Because I wouldn't want any of these things to be very literal. I would want them to be a subplot of a much more engrossing, heroic tale of sorts. So,
Well, I mean, the cool thing you could do with that is like kind of one of those climactic moments that you could have is that he's silent throughout the whole thing, and then he finally says something. Then that becomes like a really big moment,
Exactly.
even though it's a really small action, which I dig.
Yeah. So, one more idea that I had that interested me is the societal perception of sex and sexuality. I'm sure it's been explored, but I like the idea of a world with no sexual boundaries, and the commonality of sex is widely accepted.
Well, like people just fucking in the
Exactly,
streets.
yeah, pretty much.
Just going for it.
Like morality, in fact, most of the topics we've covered originate from the concepts I find intriguing. I'm just unsure how I'd like to present those ideas, which may sound surprising considering how much I'm into aesthetics. So those are pretty much...
That'd be really interesting. And you hit the taboo.
Yeah, exactly. So
Because people, you just can't have sex in the streets. It's
yeah,
not
like
allowed.
I don't know how that would be presented without it being like pornographic. But
Yeah, or just like pandering or just like borderline hentai.
it would be essentially something like Kill a Kill, is what I'm getting at.
Sure, but more graphic.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
if you're actually showing acts.
Yeah.
then It'd be interesting how you'd approach that.
Yeah, but I don't know. So those are just ideas that I like. So that took a little longer. But what about what we're watching? Let's move on to what we've been watching.
So, we did do this episode a day late, so we did get to watch the two newest episodes of both Shingeki and Boku no Hero. I'll start with Shingeki because it's the worst of the two. Shingeki had just kind of, I would call it some rising action.
Well, we got to talk about both episodes.
Oh, both episodes, yes. So, but both seem to be like a little bit of story expose, and the latter end of the latest episode was some rising action. So we still have Eren and Ymir sitting in the tree trying to get some information, and apparently Eren knows absolutely nothing, and everyone else knows everything all the time. That's like the plot of Attack on Titan. It's Eren's clueless, everyone else knows everything. And apparently Eren is the only person that can turn into a Titan that doesn't know goddamn shit about it, which I find really bizarre, but I'm sure that we'll finally figure it out when he gets to that goddamn basement with a stupid key that was introduced in like episode 2.
Like 1 or 2, yeah.
Of
So
the first season.
we found out in like the episode we would normally talk about, which for you would be last week's episode, that Reiner has like a double personality, which I found really interesting. Like, he's been lying to himself for such a long time.
That he thinks he's actually just a soldier. And he
Yeah.
almost even like tried to sacrifice himself earlier in the tower like escape.
And I found that to be really interesting, but at the same time, it kind of feels like a cheap, like a plot armor tactic. Do you get that feeling?
I can see that.
Like, it can be written for any character as justification as to why they were a spy the whole time. Like, it didn't feel like it built up to that. It felt like it was
it's almost like guarding from the fact that they didn't really show much of this. Like, there was no it was surprising to me that they were obviously the Titans, but it's like there were no real hints. Maybe if I watch the first season again, there'll be some hints, but it seemed like they're trying to guard against the fact that they didn't really drop any like foreshadowing in the first season.
And then in the most recent episode, we saw Ymir's backstory.
It's interesting. You get to see a little bit more about like this religious fanaticism where they're like, just, oh, pick that kid. That kid's going to become one. And then they kind of take him away. But one thing that I found interesting is how easily everyone just like forgives each other. It's like, oh, you killed our friend like 5 years ago. It's cool, whatever.
Well, I don't think they have time.
big deal.
I don't think they have time to really focus on that. But I was kind of not confused, but intrigued by it. Like, we saw them turning people into Titans, didn't we? Like, they were injecting something into these people, Ymir included, and then like kicking them off a cliff.
Right. Yeah. So the only way you know that happens is like someone kicks off, screams horribly, and then like you see the
Syringe,
Titan light that we all know. And then obviously it cuts to Ymir like running across the plains as a Titan. But then like, so did she just hibernate for like 60 years? Is that what just happened?
I don't know if it was like 60, but...
Well, that's what she said. She said, I was trapped outside the walls for 60 years.
She said 60?
She said 60 years.
Okay, then I guess so.
And then, I mean, it showed her like laying on the ground and then like all the shit
I saw
piling
that.
up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So, I mean, that just seems like, why? You didn't do jack shit for 60 years? Like, what the hell? But I'm cautiously excited to see what happens when everyone finally clashes.
Sure.
Now that they're finally all together and there's like a little bit of an escape, obviously they're not going to just like let him run away. He already said that the armored Titan form's pretty slow, so they're going to catch him, and there's going to be some big climactic scene there. Especially since we're 2 episodes from the next episode's 11, then 12, and then it's over, right?
Really?
Yeah, that was 10.
Are you sure?
This was 10.
Okay. I don't know. But more importantly...
yeah, Boku no Hero was goddamn amazing.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with last week's episode.
Yeah, last week's episode.
That was Uraraka versus Bakugo.
Urara versus Bakugo. And damn, dude, she put up a fucking fight.
Yeah.
Like, I was really surprised. So first she like says, no, Midoriya, I don't want your goddamn tactics. I'm going to do this myself. You're always trying to help me. I got this.
Which was cool in and of itself.
Yeah. And then she goes in and like, dude, she takes so many blasts to the face, but like just it's amazing how much resolve that chick had. And then how much it was interesting to note that like the mic guy and almost all of the audience was like, dude, stop fucking around with her, just get her out, like you're being a dick.
Yeah.
And then Eraserhead was the only one that's like, you guys are the ones that are underestimating Urara. And that she has something up her sleeve. And then, like, you see the meteor shower.
Exactly. He's like, you don't understand that if 2 people are in this ring, they are both giving it their all.
Yeah.
And, like, everyone was like, oh, shit. Like, man, that meteor shower attack was so cool.
And it's so... Well, I do like that they totally explained it before. They're like, the more he sweats, the more he can make, and he can blow it up or whatever. But it sucks that she worked so fucking hard, and he's just like, poof, blows it all up. Yeah. It's like, ha. So I did really thoroughly enjoy that. I love tournament arcs. But more importantly, the episode that aired today of Todoroki versus Midoriya was absolutely fucking flawless. It was one of the best episodes of anything I've seen in a very long time.
It was pretty damn amazing.
Yeah. So not only do we have just, I mean, seeing Midoriya like flick each of his fingers to try to blow something, blow the ice away, and
like,
then,
well, let's just stick with that for now. Like, he flicks one finger like to counter the ice attack, and he says like, I have 6 more chances left.
Right.
Because he's just
he
counting down
knows
his
he's going to
fingers.
flick all the other fingers. And then when he runs out, he goddamn puts his thumb in his cheek and flicks that. It was like, God damn, dude.
So badass.
And then even beyond that, once his fingers are already broken, he still fucking used them. And then you can just see how much like one thing is that the animation in this episode was so good because you could really see like the pain in his face and like the facial expressions really, and how much they really want to win, how they're giving literally everything they have while they're in the ring. And then obviously the climactic moment of having Midoriya, even though he wants to win, he also just like cares about all his bros.
Exactly.
And he wants Todoroki to like realize that just because he has his father's power doesn't mean he's a slave to anything his father wants. So he finally forces him to use the goddamn fire.
Like during this entire fight, he is still trying to do the heroic thing and save like the soul, you know, the emotion, the distrust within his opponent, and that alone like really shows how heroic he's being. But then finally, they both go all out, you know,
dude. So not like. So he forces him to use the fire, and then it's just like that's the huge moment. Like, sure, the attack afterward is super cool, but the big moment is he finally forces him to use the fire. He almost gets him to use it in the cavalry battle, but this time he gets it all like 100%. And you see his dad like freaking out, which I thought was pretty funny.
That's my boy.
Shut up. But so you see it, everything's going good. You have the massive fire. What actually this reminded me of, just because of like the blue and red, was the final fight between Azula and Zuko in Avatar, the firefight with like, I thought that was really reminiscent of that.
Sure.
I honestly, like they both would have just fucking died if like
exactly
the cement guy.
The teacher were like, "Oh shit, these kids are gonna kill each other."
Yeah, literally about to kill each other. So they try to stop it, and then they just blow the living shit out of like everything.
Yeah.
Oh my
Shout outs to
God.
the animator who I mentioned in our Discord. I cannot remember.
Like
Nakamura. I don't know, but like such a talented guy.
Holy crap, that was just absolutely incredible. And they played
like the intense version of the theme song.
Yeah, the season 1 theme song.
Yeah.
The season 2 I don't think would fit with battles very well.
No. But you know what? I do watch the season 2 theme beforehand, and it does get me
this
pumped.
one I normally skip it, but this one I was like, no, this shit deserves it.
It was good.
I'm gonna watch it, and then I watched the preview to the next episode, which I don't normally watch.
So, well, just some quick thoughts on other things that I'm currently watching. Recreators had a very well done and surprising death scene, and I have sort of a love-hate relationship with the crazy evil girl. Her interactions with the main character put him in situations that make me sort of dislike him. He's kind of that crybaby type character, which is...
No one likes the bitch MC, dude.
Well, I mean, I do when it's justified, and I don't feel like we have been justified as to why he's acting the way he is. But Recreators is pretty great. It's been really good up till now. Uchiten Kazuku, we finally see the reasoning behind why Kaisei has always hidden herself from Yasuburo, and I thought it was genius. Like this factor will introduce some like truly interesting plot elements to look forward to, I think. I don't want to talk about it too in depth because I'll give stuff away if you haven't seen season 1. Tsukiga Kirei is just absolutely too cute for this world. It is the most adorable show. Just watch it if you like cute things. And what I have to say most about this week is probably Psychono, because the latest episode was fantastic. We saw a really interesting, deeper outlook on Kato and how complex of a character she is. If you choose to interpret the show more deeply, it occasionally presents pretty complex ideas of meta. These Psychono characters have complex understandings of the inner workings of relationships in eroge and dating sims, but are blind when applying what they learn into reality, because theoretically, reality and fiction don't ever align. Which is why Kato is such an amazing character. She represents the normal person, the normal girl who doesn't have these flags you have to trigger to make her fall in love. She doesn't have a boring personality. She has the personality of an actual human, not an anime character. So you really have to view the series from a deeper lens to appreciate the character of Kato as much as you should. She's very interesting. And so I always go back and forth between like thinking Sekino is, you know, like an okay harem to something that's truly well thought out. So it was a pretty great episode. But that wraps everything up for this week. So if you have any questions or suggestions for episode topics, please don't hesitate to send as many as you would like. You can send them to myself at Secret Otaku on Tumblr, email us at theweeaboos@gmail.com, or just leave us a comment wherever you're listening. Join us on Twitch most Fridays when we record live, and join us on our Discord so you can talk to us whenever you'd like. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon or leaving an iTunes review if you like what we do. And more than anything, please share the podcast because word of mouth is pretty much the only way we get new listeners. I want to thank Hentai Dude for our intro music and Kuwagata for our outro. And like always,
Get
drunk
and
anime. See you guys next week.
peace.
You can catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze. Say goodbye, don't be mad, I'm lit. Catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze. Say goodbye, don't be mad, I'm lit.
Baka Hentai said he would create an anime like Shirobako, where cute girls try to start up their own podcast loosely based on the Weeboos.
That would be dope. I'd watch it. Man, we should write an anime about a podcast.
My little podcaster can't be this cute. Todoroki using his fire powers, hence opening a hot one with the boys. His dad cracked open a hot one. A fucking O.
His mom opened up a hot one all over Todoroki's face.
Jesus Christ, dude. He has a family. God damn.